For many years, within the illustrious corridors of prominent studios, an unspoken guideline prevailed. It was a common understanding, yet few had the courage to articulate it. An actress aiming to maintain her position, advance her career, or simply remain employed had to cultivate a harmonious relationship with the male executives. Some complied, while others resisted. Those who resisted faced erasure. Suddenly, scripts ceased to arrive, phone calls dwindled, and contracts disappeared. This was no mere coincidence. It was a form of retribution. Today, we will discuss the actresses of classic Hollywood who defied these unspoken expectations, who stood firm against pressure, and ultimately paid a steep price. They were the blacklisted, the ones who dared to refuse and consequently vanished from the scene. Are you prepared to discover their identities? Let us commence. Peggy Ann Garner was a prominent child star, having won a juvenile Oscar and performed alongside Hollywood legends, only to fade from the spotlight. This disappearance was not due to a lack of talent. As she matured, the offers she received shifted from scripts to stipulations. When she asserted her unwillingness to conform to the desires of certain executives, opportunities began to close off one by one. The most heartbreaking aspect was that she was still quite young and already cognizant of the fact that she was being penalized for not conforming. From a rising star to an obscure name, she was never afforded a second opportunity. Hollywood sought her silence, not her voice. The first African-American woman nominated for a Best Actress Oscar was elegant, gifted, and a pioneer. However, what is often overlooked is the extent of her struggles and the numerous opportunities that vanished when she chose to say no. Dandridge frequently received invitations to dinners with white executives, ostensibly to discuss various projects. However, if she declined these invitations, her scripts would disappear. Should she attend but maintain a certain distance, she would be dismissed with absurd justifications. The most painful moment came after she turned down a prominent producer, only to be offered the same role again, albeit with Nate reduced to a mere background character, a punishment masquerading as an opportunity. She ultimately passed away in solitude and debt, never receiving the recognition she deserved from Hollywood. The cost of her integrity was her obscurity. Dolores, on the other hand, was a revelation, having starred alongside Elvis and seemingly destined for a bright future. Yet, after rejecting a series of offers that came with inappropriate conditions, she began to feel trapped. The pressure she faced was not solely professional, it was deeply personal. Her response was drastic. She departed from Hollywood and embraced a life of solitude. Many interpreted this as a sudden spiritual awakening, but years later, she suggested that her departure was due to an unsafe environment. She did not flee from fame, rather, she escaped the price that came with maintaining it, opting for the tranquility of a convent over the studio's hypocrisy. Linda Darnell possessed one of the most captivating faces of her era, yet her talent was often overlooked. Few are aware that from the age of 16, she was persistently pursued by influential men. Her mother, a determined manager, would finalize deals without her knowledge if it meant securing a role for her daughter. When Linda finally took charge of her own destiny, she broke free from the cycle, firmly rejecting a producer who had promised her the role of a lifetime. Weeks later, the role was given to another actress who possessed less talent but greater adaptability. The tragic irony is that in her later years, Linda resided with a former secretary, reminiscing over classic films on television, many of which should have featured her. She ultimately perished in a house fire, officially deemed an accident, though some speculate she had grown weary of fighting her battles alone. Ella Lehner Parker was famously referred to as the woman of 1,000 faces. However, the most significant change was the studio's attempts to exert control over her. She was dignified, graceful, yet resolute, which did not align with the desires of Hollywood's influential figures. One of her most notable confrontations occurred when she declined to attend a late-night meeting with a prominent executive, allegedly to discuss alterations to a script. Following that incident, subtle retribution ensued. Signed roles disappeared, and marketing initiatives were quietly abandoned. Interestingly, she was the initial choice for numerous roles that later propelled other actresses to fame. Yet, each time she resisted conforming to the industry's demands, she faded from discussions. Her talent was never in question. Rather, it was her unwillingness to exhibit blind compliance. Susan George was striking, provocative, and immensely talented, but she refused to relinquish off-screen what she had rightfully earned on-screen. In the early 1970s, as her career flourished, she was presented with a significant contract laden with conditions, including a closer association with certain production team members. She declined. Consequently, the major roles vanished. In subsequent interviews, she candidly acknowledged the situation, recognizing that while she made the right choice, she also understood that she had just closed the most significant door available to her. Susan never faced scandal. Instead, she encountered something far worse for an emerging actress: utter silence. Hollywood did not dismiss her, it simply ceased to acknowledge her presence. Maureen O'Hara was not merely one of the most stunning actresses of her era. She was renowned for her steadfast character, which was deemed unacceptable in the Hollywood of the 1940s and 1950s. During a business meeting, a studio executive made an inappropriate advance, which she promptly rejected without hesitation. As a result, her opportunities dwindled within months, and projects mysteriously vanished. Years later, she revealed that her reputation had been intentionally undermined by rumors of her being difficult to work with, forcing her to fight for every role despite her talent. Refusing to conform placed her on an unrecorded blacklist known to industry insiders. Judy's struggles began in childhood, as studios dictated her appearance, diet, and social interactions. As she matured, the manipulation escalated, with powerful executives offering conditional favors that masked their true intentions. When Judy, now an adult, attempted to establish boundaries, her career plummeted, with studios branding her as unstable and unreliable, never disclosing the true reason for her exclusion. Judy was not rebellious. She simply declined to adhere to rules she had never accepted, which made her a threat. Kim Novak epitomized sophistication on screen, yet off camera, she faced vulnerability and pressure, constantly clashing with executives who sought to control her public persona. She opted out of certain meetings, avoided private dinners, and refused to alter her personal life to satisfy studio demands. The outcome was that she transitioned from being the golden girl of Columbia Pictures to receiving increasingly minor roles, ultimately disappearing from the public eye. Years later, she candidly remarked, "They never forgave me for not conforming to their expectations." She did not raise her voice or name individuals. She simply walked away, and the industry ensured that no one sought her out. Veronica Lake was a remarkable figure, with her peekaboo hairstyle becoming a national sensation. However, her career declined at a pace that astonished many, except those aware of the behind-the-scenes dynamics. Veronica was forthright, expressing her opinions on set. She once declined an invitation to meet with the producer who proposed to amend her upcoming contract. Shortly thereafter, she was branded as difficult, unstable, and uninsurable. What is seldom mentioned is that she faced pressure to fabricate a romantic relationship with another actor to dispel rumors regarding her personal life, which she outright rejected. This refusal led to her losing contracts, agents, and ultimately forced her to work as a waitress to make ends meet. Upon her passing, few in the industry recalled her contributions. Yet, her decline was not a mere coincidence. It was the result of her refusal to comply. Kathy O'Donnell may not have had an extensive career, but she possessed a compelling screen presence, quiet, sensitive, and imbued with a melancholic quality that rendered her unforgettable. What the public remained unaware of was that she was blacklisted multiple times for rejecting offers that came with stipulations. Unlike many, she chose not to voice her grievances. She refrained from creating a disturbance. She did not advocate for herself publicly. Instead, she simply faded away. Her name disappeared from casting rosters. Her representatives ceased their communications. The roles were assigned to actresses who were more amenable. She passed away prematurely at the age of 46. Even now, few comprehend the reasons behind the abrupt end of her career. It was not due to a deficiency in talent. Rather, it was her unwillingness to offer anything beyond her performance. For many years, the consequence of maintaining one's principles in Hollywood extended beyond merely losing a role. It often resulted in complete erasure. These actresses did not falter due to a lack of ability or public controversies. They fell into obscurity, blacklisted for rejecting conditions that should never have been imposed as part of their profession. Some later voiced their experiences, while others took their truths to their graves. Yet, they all bore the same consequences for the same choice, declining when a positive response was anticipated. Even today, numerous such narratives remain unacknowledged in the official discourse, as if it is simpler to ignore them than to confront the reality. Which of these narratives resonated with you the most, and how many more do you believe remain concealed?